Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket queens. We have a limper, first in under the gun player in a five-handed game. This is 10 NL. He's playing 26-6. When we look at mid-position stats, his limp first in's 13%, typically plays 22%. So I think when we look at his range, I've got something like this. I kind of assume he would be raising these. That's probably better. Raising this type of range, so pretty decent range, and then all the other hands, they look playable. He's probably just limping with those, so definitely exclude a lot of these premium hands. We have a fold by a tight player, and then we get called by a loose player. I have 22 hands on him, not a huge amount. He's playing 41-5. On the button, he's played 33% of the hands, but he's only had 3 hands on the button, so when we think about what kind of range is he going to have, probably something like this. He doesn't look overly aggressive. 5% doesn't seem overly aggressive, so I'm gonna give him like hands like this. Looks like 28%. Maybe he doesn't have the king suited kings. I think he's got pocket pairs, some connectors, and stuff. And then it's on me, and I raise. So in this situation, this is my Isoraising range. This includes always in the optional. I'm probably not going to be raising all of these, all of the optional, because this villain has 54 big blinds. If I raise here, I'm raising something like this, 6 big blinds. Could go to 7 big blinds. We're applying pressure to all the players in. If they fold, they fold. But I don't want to take this 4 away, because if I just call, then villain 1's going to be calling, or he's going to check, and I'm going to have queens against 3 other players, and I'm not going to be winning as often as I should be winning. I should say, I'm not winning as often as I should be winning if we were like heads up. So I think I'd much rather take this heads up and win the pot. So I raise. And I'm going to probably get rid of the weaker hands like those. I know we've got top pair, but I think I'm going to reduce the number of hands that I'm actually going to raise, because if I raise to 6, there is a chance that villain 4 is just going to say heck with it and shove, and then we're going to have to fold a lot of those hands. So I'm going to go with this range here. Villain 2 calls. This villain, he probably is just, if he limped with this, he's probably going to be calling these in position, and then the button folds. So he's got some of these really weaker hands. He was just calling because it was cheap and he wanted to see a flop. I'm sure that's what it is. So see a board of king 9-8. I'm going to say not the best. However, we do have kings, while villain does not. I don't think villain has like ace king. You can see his kings are maybe like king jack, king 10, king 9. Relatively small percentage. But he also has a lot of hands that are going to connect somewhat with this 8-9 of spades. I think if I bet, I'm going to probably be getting called more often than not, because if I bet, I think he's calling, we're going to say top pair plus middle pair, probably bottom pair. Both of those are going to call. I suspect he's going to have flush draw, open enders, probably call with a gut shot. When we look at his fold to c bet, it's not overly high. I mean, it's in about 60, 55%, 50. Let's say 50 to 60. He's in position, so his fold c bet's about 58%. Not overly high. His c bets are actually fairly high. Tends to c bet most flops, and then when he's out of position, he kind of tones it back. And you can see mine. This is at 162 hands. C-bet in position 75%, C-bet out of positions 25%. I think that is my stats kind of hold it back a little bit. So let's see here. We are looking at this as him calling 57%, 58%. So he's folding 42%. And I mean, there is a chance that he calls with these lower pocket pairs. If he does, it brings it up even more. But I think this is the most likely calling range. I'm sure I'm checked here because I think decent plays. We've got a pocket pair under the king. If we're ahead, we're still ahead. If we're behind, we're way behind to that king. We do have the queen of spades. I think the cards that we like to see, a queen would obviously be good, but then I think we're looking at maybe 2, 3, 4. A 5 connects with 6, 7. So 6, 7. A 5's going to connect. A 7 could improve someone's hand to open ender. Maybe it could be a straight if you're playing 10-7. I don't think 10-7's in this hand. I think more likely we're looking at like a 9-10, 10-jack, 8-7, 7-6. So a 5 would probably be bad. A queen would actually, believe it or not, kind of be bad. So I just think there's not a huge number of cards that are going to come out that are actually going to be decent. 8s and 9s are just going to be somewhat questionable. So I kind of think in this situation, we're probably going to be check calling here a large percent. And then, if it checks through, then probably making our C-bet on the turn, regardless of what card comes out. So I think I would be checking even all of my premium hands. Flush draw, gut shots. I think if we checked and he bet, I think I'm calling middle pair plus. I'm calling with all of those. So I think I'm calling myself with like 65, 66%. If he bets, and then if he bets, I'm probably going to be checking again on the turn to see what he does. And if he fires, suitably a larger size on the turn, and the turn doesn't improve me, I'm probably going to be folding. And that seems like a tight fold versus a king, but I think that's kind of what we have to do. Let's check his float. I have 2,000 hands, so 50%. Yeah, I think if we check, he bets, we call. And then the turn, I only think he's really probably going to be betting if he connects with it. So I think the check's fine. And then he checks behind. And when he checks behind, I think the set and 2 pair are out and probably the top pair. We'll leave in like flush draw, open ender, and so forth. But we're going to X these out because I don't want those as part of the flush draw. So I think he's looking at something like this. So now once we go check, check, now the 9 comes out. Now I think we go ahead and bet. Is there a chance that he has a 9? Yeah, it is. It's not my favorite one, but I think we're trying to make a delayed C bet here. So at this point now, we would probably bet a full house or quads. Quads probably not. Quads are probably a check. I bet a full house is probably a check too. We're just hoping villain kind of bets. I don't think villain is, but 3 of a kind, over pair, top pair. I think we're turning all of our other pairs into bluffs. We've got our flushes and a gut shot, so we're looking at something like this, I believe. The weak pair is going to kind of be a bluff. And you could say that I think these are kind of getting a little bit of value. I didn't bet, and it's understandable. So this probably isn't a situation where we're always betting. And then villain checks behind again. So at this point, if villain checks behind, I'm going to exclude 3 of a kind here. So I'm looking at weak pair, no pair, maybe his flush draws. I mean, at this point, probably not the flop or the turn flush. Maybe the turn flush draw, but yeah, maybe all of them. We're gonna exclude the aces. I kind of think like aces could be betting at that point. So we've got our flush draw in there. All right, so something like that, pretty weak. Ace of spades, that's actually good. I kind of assumed he would have bet the aces, but if he didn't, if they checked, well, now they're all out of his range. What I would do, I check. I'm losing value. I've got no value here. I'm not the greatest with the ace or the king. Not too happy about that. Definitely, I think we should be betting at some point in the hand. But it goes check, check. Check, check, and villain shows a6. So he catches that ace on the river. Did he have any of those? Yeah, I think he should have. Yep, top pair. Yep, he does. He's got that a6 up there. A6 of diamonds, A6 of hearts would be in his range, so he connects. I wonder what GTO says. So let's check it out. All right, so as this was running, I was thinking about the hand, and one of the things that kind of ran through my mind is that I have the nut advantage big time. I've got the kings. I don't think he has kings. I've got ace king. I've got king queen. He doesn't have any of that. Yeah, he could have 8-9 for 2 pair, but I think with all of the advantage, oh, and I could have 8-9 too. So I kind of feel like with the nut advantage, maybe this is a c betting board, and GTO does do this. So I did run a couple different bet sizing with it. So I did like the small quarter, this a quarter, 3/4, half pot, and then 80% pot, and it looks like I'm betting 2 sizes. But it does look like I'm betting. So when we look at, the pairs, it's kind of a mixed strategy, but it looks like this favors betting, and I bet it's because we have all of the nut advantage. So it doesn't really matter if we've got a pocket pair below the top of the board, and then if we're behind, we're either way ahead or way behind in this hand. I think we have the nut advantage. We take advantage of it and we bet it, and that includes betting all of our hands here. So you could see hands where we might not bet the small size would be like trip 8s, trip 9s, 9/8. And we're going we're going the smaller size. I think we're going a smaller size with some of these because we're either way ahead or way behind, but we still have the nut advantage. So let's say we bet here the smaller size with like what we should have done with the queens, and then this is 9 of clubs. He calls with the 9 of clubs, which is entirely possible with the a6 of diamonds. Then once we bet, then it looks like we are checking with our queens at that point. If we check and he bets, looks like we're still calling, so we're protecting against that float at that point, the float bet. And then once we do like the check call, we check again on the river. If he bets, we're probably mixing. Yep, mixing call, mixing folds. Tens and jacks were probably foldings. I mean, it's not going to hurt if we fold these, but looks like we're calling top pairs. We're calling with the kings and so forth. But kind of go back to this flop decision. We should be betting. We should be betting. So that's going to be a mistake for this hand. Missed out. We gotta just kind of have to remember who has that nut advantage, and I think we have a pretty significant nut advantage here on this hand. And if we have that, then the strategy is to argue betting. For the most part, regardless of our holdings, we can adjust our sizing and go larger when we have the big hands. But for the most part, it looks like we are betting. We should be betting. Ace king looks like it's a smaller sizing. King 10, it's a smaller sizing. King 10 blocks some straight potential. Yeah. All right. So hopefully you enjoy this hand. Messed it up on the bet. Lost. I think I lost. Did I lose some value? Probably not. I mean, unless he's just sticky and he doesn't believe that I hit it. Maybe he calls once. He's not going to call again. And if we bet, I think if we bet appropriately, and he calls, then yeah, we are supposed to check. And then I wouldn't be surprised if he checks behind. And then yeah, we're still checking, and he would probably still check behind. We'd still lose the hand. We'd lose some c bets, but maybe he doesn't call, and then we just pick up. We pick up the pot. He folds that little bit of equity that he has. All right, so hopefully you enjoy this hand. If you did, you can always look tomorrow for another one.